Ambassador Lyra Valketh stood at the observation window of Station Nexus Prime and watched the human ship approach. The vessel was small, compared to Council warships. It was gray and simple, with no decorations or symbols of power. It looked like a metal box floating through space. "They call it the Endeavor," said her assistant, a young Talvian with blue scales. "Basic transport class. No weapons that our scanners can detect." Lyra made a sound of amusement. No weapons on their ship. How fitting for such a young species. She had read the reports about humans. They came from a planet called Earth, a small world on the edge of explored space. The Galactic Harmony Council had made first contact with them only 15 cycles ago. Now they were here to ask for membership. Most young species came to beg for protection. Lyra expected humans to do the same. The docking bay was filled with representatives from different worlds. Each delegation had brought their finest guards. The Scorians stood in their heavy armor, plasma rifles glowing with blue energy. The Halon Combine soldiers carried cryolances that could freeze flesh in seconds. The Vorn delegates had their famous blade dancers, warriors who moved like liquid death. Everyone wanted to show their strength. In the galaxy, power was everything. The human ship connected to the station with a soft sound. The airlock doors opened with a hiss. Lyra straightened her robes and prepared her most diplomatic smile. Ambassador Chen Wei was the first to step out. He was a male human of average height, with gray hair and a calm face. He wore simple dark clothing without any jewelry or marks of rank. Behind him came 4 more humans. Lyra's smile froze on her face. The 4 humans behind the ambassador were clearly guards. They walked in formation, 2 on each side. Their eyes moved constantly, scanning the room. But something was wrong. Something was missing. They carried no weapons. Counselor Vethrix, a massive Scorian with clicking mandibles, leaned close to Lyra. "Do my eyes deceive me? Their protectors are unarmed." "It appears so," Lyra whispered back. "Fools," Vethrix said with contempt. "Or perhaps they are too poor to afford proper equipment." Lyra studied the human guards more carefully. 2 males, 2 females. They wore fitted black uniforms that showed the shape of their bodies. No armor. No helmets. No visible technology of any kind. Their hands were empty, but there was something about the way they moved. Something about the way they watched the room. Every guard from every species was showing off. Standing tall. Displaying their weapons proudly. The human guards did none of this. They simply observed. Their eyes tracked every movement. Their bodies were relaxed but ready, like coiled springs. One of the human guards was a female with dark skin and short hair. Scars crossed her knuckles, old marks of violence. She caught Lyra looking at her and smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. "Ambassador Chen Wei," Lyra said, stepping forward with her arms spread in the traditional greeting. "The Galactic Harmony Council welcomes you to Station Nexus Prime." "Thank you, Counselor Valketh," Chen replied. His voice was warm and polite. "Humanity is honored by this invitation. We are always eager to meet new species," Lyra said. "Please, allow me to show you to your quarters. The formal ceremonies will begin tomorrow." As they walked through the station, Lyra noticed how other species reacted to the humans. Most looked at the unarmed guards with confusion or amusement. Some laughed openly. The Scorians clicked their mandibles in mockery. The Helen soldiers made gestures of disrespect. The human guards showed no reaction. Their faces remained calm. Their eyes never stopped moving. "Ambassador Chen," Lyra said carefully, "I notice your guards carry no weapons. Is this a human custom?" "It is our standard practice for diplomatic missions," Chen answered simply. "Forgive me, but this seems unwise. The galaxy can be dangerous. Many species would take advantage of such vulnerability." Chen smiled. It was the same smile his guard had given. "We appreciate your concern, Counselor. But my guards are quite capable of protecting me." Lyra wanted to ask more, but they had reached the human quarters. She gave them the standard information about meals and schedules, then left to report to the council. That night, the council members gathered in a private chamber to discuss the new arrivals. "They are weak," declared Vethrix. "Their planet is small. Their ships are primitive. Their guards are naked. I say, we offer them the standard protection agreement. 60% of their resources in exchange for council defense." "Agreed," said Delegate Morix of the Helen Combine. "They clearly need our help. We should make them understand this quickly." Lyra remained silent. She was thinking about the female guard's smile. She was thinking about those scarred knuckles. She was thinking about how every guard in the docking bay had unconsciously stepped back when the humans passed. "Counselor Valketh?" Vethrix asked. "You seem troubled." "I read the initial survey of their planet," Lyra said slowly. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world." The room went quiet. Class 12 was the second highest danger rating for a planet. "Impossible," Morix said. "Look at them. They are soft. They have no natural weapons. No claws. No venom. No armor." "The survey team reported that everything on their planet wants to kill them," Lyra continued. "The weather, the animals, the plants, even the water. They evolved surrounded by death. And yet they bring no weapons to protect their ambassador," Vethrix said with a harsh laugh. "The survey must be wrong. Or perhaps they simply died too easily on their world to learn proper defense." The other counselors laughed. Lyra forced herself to join them, but later that night, she pulled up the survey files again. She read about Earth's apex predators. She read about something called persistence hunting, where humans would chase prey for days until the animal's heart gave out from exhaustion. She read about their wars, their history of violence, their capacity for cruelty. She read one line again and again. "Humans do not stop. They do not tire. They do not forget. When a human wants something dead, it dies. It is only a matter of time." Lyra closed the file and stared at the wall. Those guards had not looked afraid. They had not looked nervous. In a room full of the deadliest warriors in the galaxy, they had looked patient. She thought about the female guard's smile. She did not sleep well that night. The welcoming feast was designed to impress and intimidate. The great hall of Station Nexus Prime was made of living crystal that sang soft music when light touched it. Tables floated on anti-gravity platforms, carrying food from 100 different worlds. Thousands of lights hung in the air like captured stars. Representatives from 37 member species filled the room. Each one wore their finest clothing and jewelry. Each one had brought their most impressive guards. It was a display of wealth and power, meant to remind new species of their place in the galaxy. Ambassador Chen Wei walked through the crowd with quiet dignity. He wore the same simple dark clothing from the day before. No jewels, no symbols of rank. He looked like a servant among kings. His 4 guards followed close behind. They still carried no weapons. The mockery had started small. Whispers behind hands. Sideways glances. But as the night went on, it grew bolder. Delegate Morix of the Helen Combine had drunk too much fermented nectar. His compound eyes glittered with cruel amusement as he approached one of the human guards. This one was a large male, with dark skin and a shaved head. His uniform identified him as Sergeant Okonkwo. "You there," Morix called out. "Human guard, come here." Sergeant Okonkwo turned smoothly. His face showed no expression. "Yes, delegate?" Morix gestured to his own guards, who stood nearby with their cryo-lances ready. The weapons hummed with cold energy. Frost formed on their tips. "Tell me, soft one," Morix said loudly, making sure others could hear. "Did your people forget to pack weapons? Or can you simply not afford them?" Several nearby aliens laughed. They gathered closer to watch. Sergeant Okonkwo's expression did not change. "We do not bring weapons to diplomatic functions." "Delegate, how wonderfully naive." Morix clicked his mandibles in the Helen gesture of contempt. "On my world, we learned long ago that the universe respects only strength. The weak are food for the strong. This is the natural law. On our world," Okonkwo replied calmly, "we learned something different. Oh? Morix leaned closer. He was nearly twice the human's height. His armored shell gleamed under the lights. And what is that? Little mammal? That weapons can be taken from you. The laughter around them stopped. Morix's compound eyes blinked in confusion. Was that a threat? He asked. It was an observation, delegate. Before the conversation could continue, Ambassador Chen appeared at Okonkwo's side. Sergeant, I need you for a moment. He nodded politely to Morix. Please excuse us, delegate. Enjoy the feast. The humans walked away, leaving Morix standing in uncomfortable silence. It was Counselor Vethrix who noticed first. The massive Scorian had been watching from across the room. He saw something strange. As the human guard had spoken, several nearby guards from other species had stepped backward. They had not done this consciously. Their bodies had simply retreated. Vethrix was a warrior. He had fought in 3 campaigns. He knew the instinct of prey. He had seen it in the eyes of enemies who knew they were about to die. He had never expected to see it directed at an unarmed human. Interesting, he muttered to himself. Across the room, the other human guards were having similar encounters. A group of Vorn blade dancers had surrounded the 2 female guards, showing off their spinning knives and mocking the humans' empty hands. What will you do if we attack you? One Vorn asked. Bleed on us? Bleed on us? The female guard with scarred knuckles, Sergeant Chen, smiled at him. Would you like to find out? She said it quietly. She said it calmly. But the Vorn's knife stopped spinning. His 4 eyes narrowed. Is that a challenge? He asked. Just a question. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then the Vorn laughed loudly and turned away. Humans are mad, he announced. They have no weapons and no fear. Clearly, they are too stupid to understand danger. His companions laughed with him. But the Vorn did not approach the human guards again for the rest of the night. Counselor Lyra Valketh watched all of this from her position near the high table. She was not laughing. She was counting. She counted how many times the human guards were approached. She counted how many times the confrontation ended with the other species walking away first. She counted how many guards from other species developed small tremors in their hands after standing close to the humans. Ambassador Chen found her near the end of the feast. Counselor Valketh, you look troubled. Lyra forced a diplomatic smile. Not at all. Ambassador, I am simply observing. You have been observing my guards very carefully. They are unusual. Chen picked up a glass of water from a floating tray. He sipped it slowly. I understand that our practice seems strange to council members. Every species in this room measures strength by weapons. The bigger the gun, the more respect you deserve. Is that not the natural way? Lyra asked. Perhaps for some. Chen watched his guards across the room. Sergeant Okonkwo was standing perfectly still near a wall, his eyes tracking the movements of everyone nearby. Humans measure strength differently. We learned long ago that weapons are tools. Useful tools. But they can break. They can be lost. They can be taken. And your guards cannot be taken? Chen smiled. My guards cannot be broken. Forgive me, Ambassador, but they are flesh and bone. I have seen the strongest warriors in the galaxy fall to a single plasma bolt. Then you have never seen a human who does not want to fall. Lyra studied the ambassador's face. He was not boasting. He was not threatening. He was simply stating what he believed to be true. What did your Sergeant Okonkwo mean? She asked carefully. When he said that weapons can be taken. Exactly what he said. If you point a gun at my guard, you have a gun. If you are close enough to use a knife on my guard, then my guard is close enough to take your knife, and then my guard has a knife, and you have nothing. But what if you are not close? What if the enemy is far away? Then my guard will get closer. Chen finished his water. Humans do not run away from danger, Counselor. We run toward it. The distance between us and our enemies is a temporary problem. It is never a permanent solution. He set down his glass and bowed politely. Thank you for the feast. It was lovely. Lyra watched him walk back to his guards. The 4 humans gathered around their ambassador, moving in perfect coordination without any visible communication. They walked through the crowd of armed warriors like they were walking through an empty field. Not afraid, not nervous, not impressed. Just waiting. Lyra's assistant approached her. "Counselor? You look pale. Are you unwell?" "I am fine," Lyra said. "I am simply beginning to think that we have made a serious mistake." "What kind of mistake?" Lyra watched the humans leave the feast hall. "The kind you do not realize until it is too late." The 3rd day of negotiations began like the others. Council members gathered in the Great Chamber to discuss humanity's petition for membership. Ambassador Chen Wei sat calmly at the petitioner's table, while 37 delegates asked him questions. Most of the questions were insults dressed as curiosity. "We understand your species still uses chemical rockets for some transportation," Delegate Morik said. "How quaint. Your planet has only 1 moon," Councillor Vethrix added. "Most civilized species come from systems with at least 3. "You eat dead animals," another delegate said with disgust. "Cooked with fire. Like primitives." Ambassador Chen answered each question with patience. "Yes, humans still used some older technology. Yes, Earth had 1 moon. Yes, humans ate meat." He did not apologize. He did not make excuses. He simply provided information. His 4 guards stood behind him in a line, silent, watchful, still carrying no weapons. Counselor Lyra Valketh sat at the high table and watched the humans. She had not slept well since the feast. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Sergeant Chen's smile. She saw Sergeant Okonkwo's calm face as he stood surrounded by armed warriors. She was the only one who noticed when the human guards suddenly changed. It was small. A slight shift in posture. A tension in their shoulders. Their eyes, which had been scanning the room constantly, now focused on specific points. The doors, the windows, the ventilation shafts. Lyra opened her mouth to say something. The explosion came first. The main doors blew inward with a blast of fire and metal. Council guards flew through the air like broken toys. Before anyone could react, armed figures poured into the chamber. They wore the black armor of the Vexari separatists. They carried plasma rifles and neural disruptors. They moved with military precision, spreading out to cover the room in seconds. "Everyone down!" a scarred Vexari shouted. "Weapons on the floor! Now!" Chaos erupted. Council delegates screamed and dove under tables. Some guards tried to fight, but they were cut down before they could fire. The separatists were fast, organized, and ruthless. In 20 seconds, it was over. The Great Chamber was now a prison. 30 armed separatists held the room. The guards who had survived were on their knees, weapons taken. The delegates huddled together in fear, all except the humans. Ambassador Chen stood calmly at the petitioner's table. His 4 guards had formed a square around him. They had not moved from their positions. They had not ducked or run or screamed. The separatist leader approached them. He was tall for a Vexari, with scales scarred by old burns and a mechanical eye that glowed red. His name was Kolthan, and he was wanted for terrorist attacks on 12 worlds. "The humans," he said. "The newest pets of the council. How perfect." Ambassador Chen faced him without fear. "You are making a serious mistake." "Am I?" Cole then raised his plasma rifle, pointing it at Chen's head. "The council has grown fat and corrupt. They invite new slaves while my people starve. Today, we send a message. And you, human, will be part of that message. I am asking you one time to surrender," Chen said quietly. "If you do, no one else needs to be hurt." Kolthan laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. "Are you blind, mammal? Look around you. I have 30 warriors. I have guns and explosives. The doors are sealed. No one is coming to help." He pressed the rifle barrel against Chen's forehead. "And you have 4 unarmed guards who stand like statues. What exactly will they do to stop me?" Sergeant Chen, the female guard with scarred knuckles, stepped forward. "Would you like me to show you?" Kulden's mechanical eye focused on her. "You think you scare me, little human? I have killed hundreds. I have burned colonies. I have—" "You talk too much," she said. Then she moved. Kulden had fought in wars for 30 years. He had killed members of a dozen species. He had trained with the best fighters in Vexari space. His reaction time was measured at 0.15 seconds, faster than almost any organic being in the galaxy. He never even saw her hand move. One moment, his rifle was pointed at the ambassador. The next, it was gone from his grip. He felt his fingers break. He felt his wrist twist in a direction it was not meant to go. He felt his elbow separate with a wet pop, and then he felt nothing. Because the human female had driven the heel of her palm into his throat with enough force to collapse his windpipe, Kulden hit the ground. He did not get up. The whole thing took less than 2 seconds. For one frozen moment, nobody moved. The separatists stared at their fallen leader. The council members stared at the human guard standing over him. Then the other 3 human guards moved. Sergeant Okonkwo reached the nearest separatist before the alien could raise his weapon. The Scorian guards had laughed at Okonkwo's empty hands. They were not laughing now as those hands grabbed a separatist's head and twisted. Corporal Vasquez was smaller than the others, but she moved like water. She flowed between enemies, her hands finding joints and pressure points with surgical precision. Every touch left a separatist screaming or unconscious. Private Torres was the youngest, but his eyes were the coldest. He fought with brutal efficiency. No wasted motion. No hesitation. Each strike was designed to end a threat permanently. The separatists tried to fight back. They fired their weapons. But the humans were never where the plasma bolts went. They were always moving, always closing the distance, always too close for the guns to matter. Counselor Lyra watched from behind an overturned table. Her hands were shaking. Her throat was tight. She had seen violence before. She had seen wars fought across star systems. She had never seen anything like this. The humans moved like predators. Not like the blade dancers of Vorn, who were beautiful and graceful. Not like the Scorian warriors, who were strong and powerful. The humans were something else entirely. They were efficiency, made flesh. They were death, wearing a calm expression. Every movement had purpose. Every strike had effect. They used the separatists' own weapons against them, not firing them, but swinging them like clubs, using them to block, throwing them to distract. And always, they moved forward. Toward the enemy. Toward the danger. Toward the thing that was trying to kill them. Lyra remembered what Ambassador Chen had said at the feast. Humans do not run away from danger. We run toward it. She understood now. She understood, and she was terrified. The fight lasted 93 seconds. Counselor Lyra Valketh knew this, because the station's security system recorded everything. Later, analysts would study the footage at 1/16th speed. They would slow it down again and again, trying to understand what they were seeing. They would write papers about human combat efficiency. They would have nightmares, but in the moment, it did not feel like 93 seconds. It felt like watching the universe change shape. When it ended, 30 separatists lay on the floor. Some were dead, some were unconscious, some were alive but broken, their bodies bent at wrong angles, their weapons scattered around them like fallen leaves. The 4 human guards stood in the center of the room. They were breathing slightly faster than normal. A few had minor cuts and burns from near misses, but they were standing. They were alive. They were calm. Sergeant Chen looked down at Kulden's unconscious body. Then she looked up at the council delegates, at their pale faces and trembling bodies. "Apologies for the disruption, counselors," she said. Her voice was not even strained. "The situation has been neutralized." Ambassador Chen Wei straightened his suit. A small tear had appeared in his sleeve during the chaos. He looked at it with mild annoyance. "Perhaps now we can return to negotiations?" he asked. Nobody answered. Nobody could answer. The entire council chamber was frozen in shock. Counselor Vethrix was the first to speak. The massive Scorian warrior had fought in 3 campaigns. He had killed enemies with his bare claws. He was considered one of the most dangerous beings in the council. His voice came out as a whisper. What? What are you? Sergeant Okonkwo turned to face him. Blood was on his hands, not his own. We are human, counselor. Just human. That is not possible. Vethrix shook his head. I saw what you did. The speed. The strength. The way you moved. No organic being can do those things. We can, Corporal Vasquez said simply. We trained for this. Trained? You faced 30 armed warriors with nothing but your hands. Yes. Delegate Morix of the Helen Combine was still on the ground. His compound eyes were wide with terror. Just hours ago, he had mocked Sergeant Okonkwo. He had called him Soft One. He had laughed at the unarmed guards. Now he could not stop his body from shaking. The guns, he whispered. They had guns, plasma rifles, neural disruptors. You should be dead. You should all be dead. Guns are slow, Private Torres said. He was cleaning blood from his knuckles. His voice was casual, like he was discussing the weather. You point. You aim. You fire. It takes time. We do not need that time. But we saw them fire. We saw the plasma bolts. Yes. They fired at where we were. By the time they pulled the trigger, we were somewhere else. Lyra found her voice. You can move faster than light? No, counselor. Ambassador Chen walked forward, stepping carefully around the bodies. We cannot break physics. But we can predict. Humans are pattern recognition machines. We see your finger tighten on the trigger. We see your shoulder shift. We see your eye focus. We know where you will shoot before you shoot. And we move. That is impossible, Vethrix said, but his voice had no conviction. It is simply training, Chen said. Every human child plays a game we call dodgeball. They throw objects at each other for fun. They learn to predict. They learn to dodge. They learn to move toward danger instead of away from it. He smiled slightly. By the time they are adults, this is instinct. The council members looked at each other. They had read the reports about Earth. Class 12. Death World. Persistence predators. Extreme adaptability. They had dismissed it as exaggeration. They were not dismissing it now. Your guards, Lyra said slowly. They killed 30 armed separatists in less than 2 minutes, with no weapons, no armor, no technology. 93 seconds, Sergeant Chen corrected. And I apologize for the deaths. We attempted to incapacitate when possible. But some of them gave us no choice. Lyra stared at her. You are apologizing? For defending yourselves? For saving the council? We do not enjoy killing, counselor. It is a tool we use when necessary. But we prefer other solutions. You prefer other solutions. Yes. Killing is final. It ends possibilities. We prefer to leave options open when we can. The station's security forces finally broke through the sealed doors. They poured into the chamber with weapons ready, only to find the battle already over. Their commander stopped short, looking at the carnage with disbelief. What happened here? He demanded. The Vexari separatists attacked during negotiations, Lyra said. Her voice was strange to her own ears. The human delegation handled it. The commander looked at the 4 human guards. He looked at the 30 separatists on the floor. He looked back at the humans. The 4 of them? The 4 of them. The commander was silent for a long moment. Then he holstered his weapon and bowed to the human guards. It was the Nexus salute, given only to superior warriors. My respects, he said. Sergeant Okonkwo nodded. Thank you. Now, if you will excuse us, we should sweep the rest of the station. There may be more of them, he said it casually. Like it was a simple chore. Like he had not just done the impossible. The human guards formed up around their ambassador and moved toward the door. Council members scrambled to get out of their way. Even the Scorian warriors stepped aside. As they passed Counselor Lyra, Ambassador Chen paused. I believe we were discussing membership terms before the interruption, he said. Perhaps we can continue tomorrow, when everyone has recovered. Lyra could only nod. She watched the humans walk out of the chamber. 4 guards, still unarmed, walking calmly through a station full of armed soldiers. Every soldier they passed stepped backward without thinking. Delegate Morix crawled to her side. His voice was broken. "What do we do? What do we do now?" Lyra looked at the bodies on the floor. She looked at the door where the humans had gone. She thought about the report she would have to send to the full council. "We do exactly what they want," she said quietly. "We give them membership. We give them whatever they want. But we cannot show weakness. The council has never surrendered to intimidation. This is not intimidation, delegate." Lyra's voice was tired. "This is survival." Those 4 humans were diplomatic guards. Trained to be calm. Trained to be careful. Trained to use minimal force. She turned to face him. "What do you think their military looks like?" Morix had no answer. Neither did anyone else. 3 days after the attack, Counselor Lyra Valketh requested a private meeting with Ambassador Chen Wei. They met in a small room overlooking the stars. No guards. No witnesses. Just 2 diplomats in the empty darkness of space. Lyra poured 2 glasses of Talvian wine. Her hands were steady now, but she had not slept well since the attack. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the human guards moving through the separatists like fire through dry grass. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, handing Chen a glass. "Of course, Counselor." He accepted it with a polite nod. "How can I help you? I need to understand." Lyra sat across from him. "I have read every report about humanity. I have watched the security footage from the attack 47 times. I still do not understand. What specifically troubles you?" "Your guards." Lyra set down her glass. "They are not enhanced? No genetic modifications? No cybernetic implants? No combat drugs? None of those things. Then how?" "I saw a human female defeat Colvin, the most dangerous terrorist in 3 sectors, in less than 2 seconds. I saw a human male break a Vexari warrior's neck with his bare hands. I saw things that should be impossible." Chen sipped his wine. His face was calm, thoughtful. "Do you know why we evolved as persistence predators, Counselor? Because your planet was trying to kill you. Every species on Earth competed for survival. Partly true. But there is more." Chen set down his glass. "Most predators rely on one advantage: speed, strength, venom, claws. They are specialists. When their specialty fails, they fail. And humans? Humans are generalists. We have no natural weapons. We are not the fastest or strongest, but we learn to use everything: tools, traps, fire, poison, teamwork. Our ancestors would chase prey for days. Not because we were faster, but because we never stopped. We never gave up. We never let go." Chen leaned forward. "This is what the Council does not understand about us. We do not fight fair. We do not follow rules. When we face a stronger enemy, we do not try to match their strength. We find their weakness. We adapt. We overcome. But your guards had no time to adapt. The attack was a surprise, was it?" Chen smiled. "My guards noticed the separatists' positions 6 seconds before the doors exploded. They had already calculated likely attack patterns. They knew which enemies were most dangerous. They had planned their movements. 6 seconds is not enough time to plan a counterattack against 30 armed enemies. For most species, no. For humans?" Chen shrugged. "We think quickly when we are in danger. Our ancestors faced death every day. The ones who could not think fast did not survive. We are the children of survivors, Counselor. Fear does not slow us down, it speeds us up." Lyra was silent for a long moment. Outside the window, a cargo ship drifted past, tiny against the stars. "Why do your guards carry no weapons?" she finally asked. "This is what I truly do not understand. After what I saw, I know they could use any weapon with deadly skill. Why come to us unarmed?" Chen finished his wine before answering. Counselor, if my guards arrived with plasma rifles, what would the council think? That humanity understands strength, that you deserve respect. Wrong. Chen shook his head. The council would think, the humans need weapons to be dangerous. Without their guns, they are helpless. They would think they understood our strength. They would think they knew our limits. And now? Now the council knows the truth. A human with a plasma rifle is dangerous. But a human without one is terrifying. Because you do not know what we can do. You do not know our limits. Every time you look at my guards, you will wonder, what else are they hiding? How much stronger could they be? Chen leaned back. Fear of the unknown is the greatest weapon in the universe, Counselor. We arrived unarmed because empty hands are more frightening than any gun. Lyra felt cold despite the warm room. This was all calculated. Every moment. The mockery at the feast. The confrontations with other guards. You wanted us to underestimate you. We wanted you to reveal yourselves, Chen corrected. And you did. We saw which species were cruel, which were arrogant, which were dangerous. We learned more about the Council in 3 days than we could have learned in 3 years of normal diplomacy. And the attack? The separatists? An unexpected opportunity. We did not plan it, but we used it. Now the Council has seen what 4 humans can do. 4 humans who are trained to be calm and careful. 4 humans who tried to minimize casualties. Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. And your military? Chen was silent. Ambassador, please. I need to know. What are your soldiers like? 1. Chen looked at her for a long time. His eyes were kind, but beneath the kindness was something ancient and cold. My guards are selected because they have control, he said finally. They can fight without anger. They can kill without hate. They are the humans we trust to represent us because they know when to stop. And your military? Our military are the ones we do not let off Earth without very good reason. Chen stood and walked to the window. We have a saying on my planet, Counselor. Beware the fury of a patient man. My guards are patient. My military are not. He turned to face her. The soldiers who stormed beaches under gunfire. The warriors who charged into certain death rather than surrender. The fighters who kept going with bullets in their bodies. Broken bones, mortal wounds kept going until their hearts stopped. Chen's voice was quiet. Those are the ones we keep at home. Those are the ones we pray we never have to unleash. Lyra understood now. The Council had thought they were inviting a weak species into their organization. They had thought humanity would be grateful, obedient, easy to control. They were wrong. The Council will vote on your membership tomorrow, she said. It will pass. Unanimously. I expected as much. Not because we want to honor humanity. Lyra stood and faced him. Because we are afraid. We would rather have you inside the Council, where we can watch you, than outside, where we cannot. Chen smiled. It was not a cruel smile. It was almost sad. That is the wisest decision the Council has ever made, Counselor. He bowed politely and walked to the door. Before he left, he paused. Humanity does not want war. We want trade. We want friendship. We want to explore the stars with partners, not enemies. Give us peace, and we will be your greatest allies. And if someone gives you war, Chen's eyes met hers. Then they will learn why even our planet could not kill us. He left without another word. Counselor Lyra Valketh stood alone in the room for a long time. She looked at the stars outside, at the infinite darkness between worlds. Somewhere out there was Earth, a small blue planet that had created the most terrifying species the galaxy had ever seen. Tomorrow, the Council would vote to accept humanity as full members. They would smile and talk about cooperation and mutual benefit. But Lyra knew the truth. They were not welcoming humanity. They were trying to contain them. And deep in her heart, she suspected it was already too late.